Welcome to this tutorial where we will explore how to perform customer-vendor netting in Dynamics 365 Finance. In the day-to-day business, you might deal with organization as a customer and vendor at the same time. And it's a common practice to use the netting approach to minimize the exchange of money between the organization and their related customer or vendor. The netting process helps the company to avoid making unnecessary payments or receipt by consolidating and netting the company's customer and vendor balances. This function is managed by a feature called Customer and Vendor Netting. This feature is managed by the Feature Management workspace and it's available since application version 10.0.38. Let's navigate to the Feature Management workspace. Select Customer and Vendor Netting, then click Enable Now. When the netting process is performed, an automatic journal is posted to settle the open vendor and customer invoices. In order to configure the journal that is used for the netting process, I'll navigate to the General Ledger module, Journal Setup, then Journal Names. Here you have to create a new journal and the journal type is Customer and Vendor Netting. The netting agreement is used to maintain the relationship between the agreement parties, the customer and the vendor. Before the netting process takes place, an agreement must be configured and activated. In order to define netting agreement, then I'll navigate either to the accounts payable or the accounts receivable, then underneath the payment group, netting agreement. Here in the netting agreement, click new, then give it a code and description like NAG002. I'm gonna use this netting agreement for the global trade vendor and customer. Then here in the journal name, we have to select the journal that we just configured. Then here in the account, we have to select the bridge account that is used for the netting process. Then here in the parties, I'm gonna select the customer and the vendor. Then here in customer account, I'll select global trade, the same in the vendor. Then here we have to specify the start and end date. So I'll say that the start is 1st of January and today it will be end of 2024, then I'll click save, then I'll activate the agreement. The netting process could be performed either through the netting agreement form. Here you have to select the agreement, then netting overview, and after that click create netting. Or it could be directly managed through the customer and vendor balance agreement. Here I'll select the applicable agreement, create netting. Then here we have to specify the netting posting date. Let's say that this is on today, then you have to select either to print netting advice or no. I'll select yes. Then here we have two fast tabs for the open invoices, one for the customer and the other one for the vendor. So here we have to select the open invoices that will be used in the netting process. So I'm gonna select this customer invoice of 500, then I'll click mark selected, and I'll select this vendor invoice of 300, then I'll click mark selected. Then here in the netting total fast tab, we can review the vendor and customer balances before and after the netting process. So here we can see the customer netting total is 300, where it will be 200 after the netting process, where the vendor netting in total is negative or credit by 300 and it will be 0 after the netting process. So here you can observe that the system is applying the minimal amount in the netting process. After that, I'll click post. Then the system will automatically generate the journal for the netting process. Here the system is printing the netting advice. And here you can review the netting advice. Here we can see the customer and vendor accounts and the invoices that have been used. And here we can see that the netting amount is 300. To review the netting history and the related transactions, I'll navigate either to the accounts payable or the accounts receivable module. Then we can review the history either through the netting agreement form or the customer and vendor balance netting. Here I'll select the netting agreement, then I'll click netting history where we can review the netting history and the related vouchers that have been posted. Here we can also review through the open details the invoices that have been used to generate this netting journal. To review the GL voucher, I'll navigate to the General Ledger module, Inquiries and Reports, Voucher Transactions, and here I'm gonna use the journal batch number, then click OK. So here we can see the system generated two accounting entries. The first one that debit the netting ledger account and credit the accounts receivable account and the related customer. And the same for the accounts payable, credit the netting account and debit the accounts payable by the netting amount. To reverse netting accounting entry, I'll navigate to the accounts payable module, then netting, customer and vendor balance netting form, then select the netting agreement, netting history. Then here, select the journal batch number, then click reverse netting. Here you can specify a specific reversal date, or we can use the existing dates for reversal, then I'll click reverse. After that, an automatic journal will be posted to reverse this accounting entry. Here we can see a new journal has been posted where the original voucher has been reversed.